Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Between Miles. Today we're talking about what I wish I had known before I started my first training blog and training for a road race. Can be a 10K, half marathon, full marathon, or
In my case, I wish I'd known for ultras, trail races, all things like that.
exactly. So, Lydia, what do you wish you had known before you started? I mean, trail and ultra, often ultras are trail.
Yes.
But obviously, you also have moments where that's not the case.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For me, I guess I'll start with ultras.
Okay.
I guess that's my wheelhouse.
Your expertise.
Yeah. I would probably say one thing I wish I knew about ultras is you can walk them. You can walk in an ultra. My first 100 that I attempted and DNF'd, I didn't really realize. I thought you had to run for 100K. And you don't have to do that.
And do you feel like you DNF'd because you were running too much of it or too fast? Or
I definitely went out too fast. And any hills, I was still running up them. And I think you quickly realize even the pros out there are walking up some hills.
Yeah.
Power hiking is very common. Also just knowing nutrition. Ultras are just a very different ball game. I went straight from doing road marathon to an ultra on trail with no terrain training at all.
Yeah.
Only training in London. So that's my one for sure.
When you trained for this first ultra, what did you do? Did you follow a plan? Did you create your own plan? How did you actually prepare for it? And how would you do that differently now that you have some more knowledge?
Well, I am a yes person. I love saying yes to everything. And I saw on someone's Instagram they were doing 100K. And I was like, I want to do that.
Why?
And I signed up and I did my own training. So I've never had a coach. I've learned a lot since then. That was 3 years ago now. And I didn't train correctly at the time. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know the terrain. Just thought, well, you just run 100K. You don't have to know about trail. You don't have to know about anything like that. So, there was a lot of learning happened in that first one.
Were you even prepared that it was going to be trail? Did you realize that?
Yeah, so I did know it was going to be trail. But because I'd never really run that much trail, and the 50K that I had done in London was on bike path trail, flat trail.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize what real trail was. And this wasn't technical trail by any means, but it was definitely not London bike path sort of trail. So doing research about where you're going to race is definitely a huge one.
Yeah.
And one that I'd definitely now going into races always look at.
Yeah, so one of your first things is you wish you had known to research the actual terrain and where the race is happening.
Yeah.
What would be something else that you wish you had known? You talked about nutrition.
Yeah, nutrition is definitely one that I wish I'd known. And also practicing nutrition. So obviously I'd practiced taking gels on a marathon, but you're going a lot faster. You're running in a different style. You're going for a lot less time.
Yeah.
And I hadn't practiced anything else. So when it came to it, I was just trying to have gels. And I've realized since then, oat bars, solid bars, molten solid bars, that's actually what works for me on 100Ks combined with gels. So anything longer than 100K, I start eating real food.
Yeah.
But that's something you only know once you start doing it.
When you say, I wish I had trained nutrition, you mean I wish I had trained taking on different types of nutrition. So not just gels, but indeed also solid bars.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And because I think when it comes to ultras, you really got to train your stomach.
Yeah.
When it comes to even marathons, you got to train with gels, but having a hardened stomach is definitely really good. So that's probably my 3.
How would you recommend though that people train their nutrition? Just take it on any run that you do or specific distances?
So how I trained after that to get my nutrition on point, and actually it was mainly for the 500k I did last year, was I'd go out on 30k runs, and every 5k I'd take half a Morton Solid bar, and then on anything longer than a 30k I would take a sandwich or bread or just something easy to digest but real, and then midway I'd stop, eat the real food, carry on, and pretty quickly you become very okay with eating. At first it feels really wrong because you're like, 5k, I don't feel like I need anything, especially if you're at like sort of an ultra training pace. You're not really ready to have food yet, but
I can imagine a lot of people feeling maybe even guilty about that.
Like I don't need it.
I don't deserve it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
but
of course we both agree that's stupid. You don't deserve food.
No, exactly.
Fuels.
And once you're in an ultra, if you leave it too long to eat, you'll start feeling nauseous. You won't be then able to take on any food, and it just derails the whole race.
Yeah, one thing there is knowing that you need the nutrition, the fuel, before you actually need it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So I guess they're my 3 things. Know the race, train your nutrition. And what was my 3rd one?
I feel like those have been the main ones so far. So maybe you actually have not a 3rd one.
Yeah. No, maybe I'll leave it there.
Okay.
I'll leave it at those. That's generally
the 2 most important things.
Yeah.
Your race.
Yeah.
Train your nutrition. I imagine that the 3rd one there is the walking.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
Know that you can walk.
Yeah.
Know that you can.
An ultra is not just running. Maybe also make sure, depending on the terrain, that you
need those 3. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So again, I guess that means, what would be your things you wanted to know when you're going into those speedy 10Ks or half marathons?
Yeah. Looking back at how I've trained in the past, I would say that first thing, especially with road races, because it's often the first thing people get into.
Yeah.
A lot of people do a couch to 5k, or they've been running, but they just tie up their shoes, like lace up their shoes, and they go out for a run without a goal.
Yeah.
So what I would say, the first tip is to actually have a plan.
Yeah.
Like when I started doing this, I started road racing. When I did my first road race is also when I followed a plan for the first time. But I have been running for many years already.
Yeah.
But never with a solid plan or structure.
Yeah.
Meaning, one, I would go out on runs, not easy runs, not tempo runs.
Yeah.
Just fast runs.
Yeah.
It was not like I didn't know anything about 5k or 10k effort. So it was not easy. That. Yeah.
Zone 2.
Exactly. I also didn't know about the easies. So everything was a little bit too fast without an objective.
Yeah.
But when you create a plan, or you work with a coach, or you use an app, whatever you do, having a plan is so helpful to actually get better at running.
Yeah.
So my first thing would be have a plan. And if somebody's watching this and they're like, I don't know where to start, I don't want to spend money yet, just get a Nike Run Club and do one of their free plans. Let's run to the palace.
This way.
Yeah. Just do that.
Yeah.
A really good way to get started. Then I think the second thing, and this is also nutrition. So in a way it's similar, but I think for road races it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
People are going to talk to you about carb loading and probably also gels, depending on the distance you're doing.
Yeah.
Very often gels only get mentioned for marathons.
Yeah.
I very much disagree with that strategy.
Yeah.
I think you should have carbs during your run on a half marathon as well.
100%.
This is maybe, like, obviously it depends on you as a runner, how much you need, how fast are you going out. But usually they say oh, you need a gel if your race is more than 90 minutes. Throw that rule out of the window. It's freaking bullshit.
So missed a lot of people's half marathons.
Yeah.
Or longer than that.
Exactly. So, you should just have a gel. And like I'm running sub 130s and I take 2 gels.
Yeah.
And I always have a third one with me.
Yeah.
I take one at 7 or 8K, at 14. And then the last one would probably not do much for me, but it might give me a mental boost.
Yeah.
Which is another thing we should think about. The reason I think it's so important is because on one of the half marathons I trained really hard for, where I didn't know anything about nutrition yet, I completely hit the wall.
Yeah.
I also used to not eat before my runs. Fastest runner, yay! Not good.
Which I think can be done for some men.
Yeah.
But I think women,
and on shorter distances, I would say.
Yeah. But I think women's hormones really need a lot of fuel. And just to keep them stable, you don't want to like lose your period or have a hormone imbalance, which is so easily done, I think, with a lot of training.
Yeah, and I think with faster running, we need to be so careful about what we would say or recommend. But also for men, like up to certain distances, they might be able to go fasted. But after that, you need to ask yourself, are you running to, or are you training to improve your performance?
Yeah.
And if so, fuel will likely help.
Yeah.
If you are if you're training to lose weight, then maybe things switch a little bit. I would still probably recommend against running fasted, except if you're going out for just short runs, very easy, never on a tempo run, never on an interval session. So, but there's a lot of nuance there.
Yeah.
So nutrition in general, eating before a race, training yourself to do that, and being able to take nutrition during the race.
Yeah.
And even with my last 10K, I had a gel in my pocket. I didn't use it.
Always good just in case though.
Yeah. Just take it with you. And if you're like, oh, by the way, I don't like gels, please just try more.
Also,
there's so many brands.
There's so many alternatives. You can have dates.
Yeah.
You can have, if you're not someone that wants them or has stomach issues. A lot of people say they have GI issues.
Yeah.
I think that's lack of training their stomach to them. And then also finding the right one.
Yeah.
Try different brands.
Yeah.
Try
not everything
natural options. Try honey.
Yeah.
People sometimes just take honey on runs.
Yes.
So you've got nutrition.
Yeah.
We had
a plan.
Have
a training plan.
Yes.
I think third one, with road races especially, I mean, it might again also apply to trail, but set yourself 3 goals. A goal, B goal, C goal.
Yeah.
A goal can be the time that you want to finish in, or the pace you want to hit. Really comes down to the same thing. B goal, if things don't go to plan, if things don't go to plan or as planned, then make sure you have a B goal. Yeah, fellas, guys. And that should be like, for example, if the weather turns out to be really rough, if you have wind against you, never underestimate the power of having like headwind.
Yeah.
It really slows you down, guys.
Yeah.
Rain, wet terrain, slippery terrain. There can be so many things that
maybe the race is busier than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, maybe
you're stuck behind people. Exactly.
So many possible things that might slow you down. So have a B goal and make sure that's a goal that you would be happy with.
Yeah.
If you have that, you're going to have a much better race, because if during the race it gets hard, you'll be able to say to yourself, okay, you know what? I have my B goal. I'm just going to go for that.
Yeah, and it's still, then you still achieved something.
Yes.
Maybe it wasn't a goal, but yeah, you've achieved something.
Yeah, and then you need to teach yourself to be able to say during the race, okay, I'm letting go.
Yeah.
I'm letting go of the A goal. I'm just going for the B goal.
Yeah.
Then, if the B goal doesn't work out,
yeah,
because you have a niggle, something doesn't feel right, you just can't hit the pace that you need for your B goal,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
And this is something other than I'm not feeling good, my mental strength isn't there, like I don't want to push. This is something like a bit more serious than that, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say it could be like you have an injury coming up, or
Yeah.
your stomach is hurting, you're cramping.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
you're
see that portal
overeating.
and you're like, I'm going to be in there for a while.
Possible. Maybe you're overeating because it's so hot.
Yeah.
And those things might also get in the way of your A goal, of course, but I think your B goal often, it shouldn't be with time. It could be like a backup time, but it could also be, let's try to keep running negative splits.
Yeah.
Or let's try to speed up the last 5K. Or let's try to just be able to do a sprint at the end.
Yeah.
Something like that. And you let go of the overall time,
Yeah.
but you set a different type of goal.
Yeah.
And then a C goal, I think the best thing there is to say, I enjoy the race.
Yeah.
So if everything falls, nothing goes as planned, then try to just let go of all of it.
Yeah.
And enjoy the race and like soak up the vibe of the crowd and the cheers and be aware of it.
Yeah. Maybe you have
Very
to stop
messy there.
and have a little walk or something, but you're still finishing that race or...
That medal.
Yeah.
The single is your medal. And if you can get that, you're probably going to have a race that is absolutely just fine.
Yeah.
I've had this multiple times. Things don't go as planned, but you get to the end, you get your medal. And if you were able to let go, then you're going to be happy with that medal.
And I think we've all got to realize as well, like I know people, we get really upset and frustrated when we don't get our goals or a PB.
Yeah.
But it's running at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But we're not professional athletes. And
Like not, I mean, I would be very honored if we have someone watching this.
Yeah, would love to be. Oh, sorry, go.
Yeah, you say?
Yeah, would love to be. But also, you know, there's other races. We can train again.
Yeah.
And then I guess if you do hit your PB, it's actually enjoy that moment, right?
Yes. So
I think so many people don't. Well, I'm definitely guilty of it as well. Like people ask you, what's next?
Yeah.
Immediately, and you're like, oh, actually, I just need like to take in this PB.
Yeah.
And enjoy it.
It's like when you hit, I mean, in my case, you hit a sub 130 half marathon.
Yeah.
And the next thing is 125.
Yeah.
That's a huge jump.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of training and effort to actually be able to do that.
Yeah.
So being able to say, you know what, I'm pretty happy with what I did here. I'm going to enjoy this moment for a while.
Yeah.
And then I will decide my next goal maybe in half a year from now. Maybe you don't have another pace goal or time goal. Maybe you're going to do something different, like you sign up for 100K.
Yeah.
It's possible. So, yeah, maybe it becomes a distance goal.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just a specific race that you want to complete, or a specific series of races.
Yeah.
Or you want to travel. Like there's so many other types of goals that you can set. And I also wish I knew that, I think, when I started running.
Yeah, 100%.
I also see a lot of people that, you know, they train for the first 10Ks, then they do a half, then they progress to marathon. And I think I knew this when I started running, but
yeah,
you don't need to do a marathon to be a runner.
No.
And I feel like a lot of people do feel like that is the case.
You don't even need to do a race to be a runner,
No.
do you?
No, not at all. If you're just running for fun, that is probably the best goal.
Yeah.
And it should go over everything else. If you put the two next to each other, I think like fun should be the primary objective.
Exactly.
Fun, and then maybe being healthy, you know, feeling good.
And I think as we go through life, our goals with running are always going to change. If you have kids, maybe just getting out the door and running is your goal.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're moving and you're traveling, maybe just seeing new places is the goal. And then when you finally find time and you have that time, then obviously racing and hitting PBs is more the goal. But you can still have all those running goals. And I think sometimes that's sort of forgotten.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely something as a first-time runner, is you can have goals, isn't it? And you don't have to be like, people are like, oh, so when are you running a marathon?
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be a goal.
You might say never.
Exactly.
And that's fine. So I think for both trail, ultra, and road races, two of the things are actually the same.
Yeah.
it is like the pace. Well, it's like training with a plan. So doing research, knowing where you're going,
Yeah.
training with a plan in mind. That's like tip number 1.
Yeah.
Tip number 2 is nutrition.
Yeah.
Understand what you can eat during a race, before a race, after a race, but also with training.
Yeah.
Very important, actually. I shouldn't even say race. It really is all about training as well.
The race is the celebration of your training in a lot of people's cases, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then I guess number 3 on my side is having different goals, which I think also applies probably to trail and ultras.
Yeah.
And on your side, it's especially with ultras and trail, knowing that you will also walk and that you're allowed to.
Yes.
So it's a good strategy to do it.
Yeah, get some power hiking in.
Yeah.
And also practicing power hiking.
Yeah, that's probably a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can do an episode one day just on how to prepare for your first trail race and how to prepare for your first ultra. But in general, I'd say these are good tips for if you're starting out and you want to know what we wish we knew when we started.
I think that's a perfect way to end. And hopefully that helps some people out there who are going to do their first race this fall.
Okay, I guess that's between miles.
Woo!
See you in the next one.